Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage here today. And today I have Mr. David Lykken. What's up, David?
Good to be with you, friend. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. So I am willing to bet that most loan officers that are watching this call don't know who David Lykken is. But I can assure you that most of your CEOs, head of production, C-suite, they know David. I've met David at a number of events, typically MBA events, big events where the leaders in the mortgage industry that are picking what technology do we deploy, what policies and procedures do we deploy, they're getting advice from David. I mean, he is a consultant in the industry, very well respected by the C-suite. I thought it would be fun to have an interview with David and bring some of his wisdom down to loan officers, branch managers, and regional leaders. So that's what we're doing here today. Hey, David, before I start asking questions, why don't you just give folks a little bit about your backstory so they know a little bit more about who you are, and then we'll start hitting you with some questions.
Well, first of all, start off, David, congratulations on your success. I love what you're doing with these interviews. I watch them and I enjoy them. And your style and who you bring on, great energy and valuable content. And we're in a new season that content is king. So kudos to you and your success. And we join together with you in your primary core values, and that is responsible home ownership and helping people get there. So thumbs up to you for the job that you're doing there. I'm a 44-year veteran, started in 1973 up just north of you in Seattle as right out of the college, and found my niche. I love this industry. I've owned 3 mortgage banking companies, a software company that ended up going public. And after selling the last mortgage company in Southern California, I thought, great, we can retire now. And I made the fatal mistake advising my wife on how to stack the dishwasher one too many times. And she says, so what are you doing now? And I go, we're retired. And she goes, no, big boy, with you and your personality, you got too much energy. We cannot handle you at home. So started consulting 16 years ago, September 2001, that notable month and year in our American history. And we've watched many cycles during this time, David. So 16 years of consulting. Yeah, as you just pointed out, mostly the C-suite executives, mostly in strategy. One of the more moving stories, you might say, is Move a Mortgage. Good. Casey Crawford Googled how to start a mortgage company. Up came my name and my website, and he retained me. So we were there at the very beginning, and there's literally hundreds and hundreds of those kind of stories. So that's what I do, strategy and get people going. But I'm really excited to speak to loan officers today in your loan origination group, as there's a lot transitioning happening, and it's important that they know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with just talking about challenges, and let's make sure we do it through the view that our community is referral-based, local lenders and loan officers, primarily purchase-focused, but that's a unique breed, and they do need to, let's just say, change some of the practices. But what do you think are some of the challenges you're hearing at the C-suite, and any challenges that you think flow downhill in the trenches?
Well, there's challenges at the C-suite, as we all know that margins are being compressed and that there's increasing pressure on the bottom line. So how do C-suite executives handle that? And so they're either coming in and trying to put squeeze and reduce costs on the loan originator, costs across the board, but one of the highest cost items, single line items on any P&L statement for a mortgage company is their mortgage loan originator. So there's some pressure being put on level of compensation. You're going to see that happening. You're seeing a lot of people move around. We're seeing a real shift amongst loan originators right now, and it's partly because of this. Comp plans are changing. And the other thing is, if you can't extract more income out or reduce compensation, which many can't, you can't take away income. Typically that doesn't go well, and it usually causes people to move around. So what you do is you increase your margin. Well, what does that do? It pushes rates higher, you're less competitive. We're also seeing that go on. So that's the current environment that's going on. And I think it's really important that the more mature, the better mortgage loan originators out there team up with the C-suite and work with them on how to best manage the costs and get together and form it as a team. Unfortunately, that's not always what happens. It's a lot of us versus them, and that which creates a lot of movement. Regrettable, some of it which is not necessary.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think one takeaway, whether you're at the C-suite, whether you're at the originator, we need to take cost out. I mean, let's face it, the rocket, technology companies that do mortgage. Now we've heard Amazon's coming into the space.
Yeah.
We need to be thoughtful, and we need to take cost out. We need to take time out, and yet we need to improve the experience. So what do you think some of the opportunities are when you look at the marketplace?
First of all, I'm very bullish on the housing market, very bullish on the mortgage industry. I think our best years are ahead, and it's only going to get better. But there is a shift, and I think that's probably someone with 44 years of experience in this business. I started as a loan originator, and I've been through many of the different twists and turns in this industry. But the one that we're about to experience is one that has not been experienced in quite this way. And you might say that about every transition that happens, David. We've never seen this one quite like this, but this one, what's unique? And here's what's unique about it. 35% of all first-time home buyers are now millennials. We know that. It's in the books. We know that. That's what happened in 2017. That's going to go to 50% and then go up further and further. The behavior of the millennials and how they respond, how they go about the first-time home purchase is much different, completely different, quite honestly, than any other generation heretofore. So it's first generation, as you know, you cover this really well with many podcasts. I love a number of podcasts in this area. One of the ones is Zillow. I look at Zillow's statistics and data, and they are the first generations that were not known having the internet. They're the first generation that hasn't not been had one of these things in their hand and accessing what's going on. And that is causing a behavioral change. And I can tell you two stories. First of all, before I go into these stories, David, the first and most important thing is the mortgage loan originator will remain the most important component of this transaction. That is not going to change because this is the most important transaction. Ellie Mae does a lot of studies on this. Fannie Mae's done studies on this. So we're not going to see this term disintermediation happen with the mortgage loan originators. However, how we interact with the borrowers is going to be changing, and you've got to get really good. And your websites, how you're communicating, if you don't know how to do this, you got to get good at it. And fortunately, you have many guests, and so you're well equipped in keeping them on top of that. But I can't stress that one enough. So it starts with discovery, how we draw people into relationship. People saying, David's starting to sound like a consumer direct call center deal. No, not if. Now, that is one option to reduce costs. But that is if you don't get into learning how to use this device and really connecting with people. We should continue as loan originators, connect and be the primary point. What's really interesting about the millennials, they're forming loan officer relationships with loan officers first. Then they're asking for a referral to the realtor. So that is happening. I have two clients which originate somewhere between 10 to 40 first-time home buyers per week, David. All through social media, drawing them into an experience. And they're taking those leads back to the realtor and say, hey, we got these leads qualified. They even know what home they want to buy. They've been on Zillow. They've been on realtor.com. So how do you think that works? So normally, like I did, we're knocking on the door of the realtor and say, hey, can I have some business? How about the dynamic shift of, hey, realtor, I've got 40 new first-time home buyers, pre-qualified. They know which neighborhood they're going to be on. So this one particular client, every one of the referrals he sends out, they go into contract. They buy a house within 2 weeks of them being handed out. That's how mature they are. That's probably one of the most important things. And it's a huge opportunity for every one of your people that are listening. And that's why I love your product so much. It helps. Having your product, working with you, David, because mortgage loan originators are helping consumers in this trend and this new transition.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I totally agree with everything you're saying. And the only thing I don't think the loan officer is going to be disintermediated.
I agree with you. That's what I was saying. They will not be.
No, I agree. And I said, I agree with that. But I do think that the loan officer that leverages technology to deliver advice and the loan officer who leverages some of these modern strategies, like leveraging social, maximizing their past customer database to create leads and referrals for partners, is going to disintermediate the loan officer that's just like, okay, I'm not using my CRM. I don't have a business model that's creating, business. That they're going to get crushed by a new generation of loan officers. And I'm gonna ask you that question. So just set it up. I am going to ask you, not now, but what does the 2020 mortgage professional look like? So like, I really want to net that out from your eyes. But before we do that, I want to just kind of go like, when you think of the mortgage experience in 2020, what's different about it then versus now? From both a consumer and a lender, how is it different? What are your thoughts?
Well, the rate at which it's going to be happening is everything happens is going to be compressed and accelerated. So we're still going to have the same processes. We're still going to have to validate the 5 C's of credit, go through all of that. But the rate at which we do it is going to be what's going to be happening. So there is an acceleration of the processes. So that's what I've been saying for the last couple of years as I do a lot of speaking at these conferences, again, mostly at the mortgage banking conferences. However, we're now speaking at 17 mortgage conferences. The mortgage conferences, I go Google mortgage conferences, and Vince Valvo has set these all up, and I'm speaking at all 17 this year. So we're going around talking and bringing this message to loan originators because I want them to succeed, David. I really want them. We need them to do well, and they need to step up. So I'll tell you how things are going to look at what just happened was announced by Quicken, Rocket Mortgage, and Jeff Bezos. You look what happens with the whole Amazon platform. That is really the sign of the future. And that is someone who says, we want this borrower for data. And what are they going to do with the data that the mortgage industry has failed at, David? They're going to mine that data and repurpose that data. And so what we have to become better at is managing data. Big data is an opportunity. Say, you can't do that. I'm an LO. What can I do with data? You can do as much as Amazon can. In fact, you can do it faster and better if you pay attention to these trends.
So big data is going to shift things. It's going to accelerate. Can we agree that the time it takes in which to get a loan is going to contract? Probably yes. The cost in what it takes to get a loan is going to contract. You can do it faster. You can do it easier. And again, if you're a loan officer, that's why your advice needs to be a big differentiator. So what do you think of the 2020 loan officer? Like when you think of the originator, call it mortgage professional of 2020, what does that human being look like? What are some of their core skills? I don't want to steal your thunder, but probably they actually use their CRM better than, their predecessors. But what are some other things that they do?
So number one thing is the mortgage loan future in 2020 is going to be having so much more fun than the loan originator in 2017-18. And here's why. We're going to have tools which we can communicate through video. Like, for example, we just did a deal with Vidyard. There's a tool where recording and distributing video content, quick updates of what's happening. That's one of the companies that I just did affiliation with, and you're going to see me using it. It's going to be so much more fun because what are loan originators that the best ones are? What makes them a good loan originator, Dave? It's what makes you successful. What made me successful is that it's relationship. This is a relationship-driven business. And when we can be out there more in front of people and not bogged down in process details. So if the process is getting compressed, which means, what is that going to mean? We're going to have less processes we're going to have to be dealing with, right?
Right.
What that also then means, we get to operate in our strength. Loan originators are going to get to do more of what they're wired to do. And that's why the loan officer of 2020 is going to be having more fun, getting more loans done, and they're going to have to be connected up with technology. A CRM, you've got to have one, and you've got to have it down. And there's going to be a lot more development in that. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree. If there were 3 things that I think you as an originator need to do today is you need to use your CRM better than ever. You need to use Mortgage Coach better than ever. And then your company has a mobile app. At the end of the day, you need to get good at training your customers to do business with you in the most efficient and effective way. So whether your relationship is all over the phone or they come in person, you need to get good at teaching customers how to transact with you. So I do have one more question, although I don't know if you're not going to answer it.
No, I'm sorry it's a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas, and a fire truck went by, so I got my door open.
I love it.
They're wanting to get in on the interview, so that's so.
Yeah, no, bring them in. Let's hope another one Yeah,
I want to
let's
shoot
open
him right now, but anyway.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So before I ask the last question, because I have a great question to ask you, but you have a great podcast yourself, and I want to make sure before I ask that big question, if folks want to hear more of David Lykken, how do they connect with you? Tell us about that platform, and then I've got one big question before we end today's interview. But if you could just tell everybody how to engage.
For over 9 years, we've been doing Lykken on Lending. I'm on Fox Television, CBS Evening News. I'm sitting with Fox Neil Cavuto, and I'm saying I'm launching this podcast, and I'm going to come up with a name of it. And he goes, I said, what's your name? And he's the one that came out. He said, why don't you call it Lykken on Lending? Put your name on it. I said, oh, gosh, I don't want to have my name on it. It sounds narcissistic. He says, do you think I'm narcissistic? I go, no, Neil, why is that? And he says, what's the name of my TV program? Cavuto. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. So he's the one that gave me the idea to really go out and use my name. So we have Lykken on Lending 9 years, and it's broadcast live Monday. You can Google Lykken, Lykken, on lending.com. We also just launched Lykken on Leadership. That started about 6 weeks ago. And what we're doing is we're recording interviews, and one of which is going to be you, David, on leadership. What are the components? And we're going around to all the old guys that have been around for decades. We're getting all these and we're putting it in a can, so it's going to be out there for generations. And we're launching next month Tech Stack Radio, so a 3 podcast, and that's about all that's going on in technology. So you're kind of an inspiration to me. I see how well you're doing with what you're doing. I'm going, step it up, Lykken. You get out there and partner with folks and work with guys like Dave. So it's an honor. So what's the big question?
Love it. So by the way, folks, if you're getting value from this, like it. You're watching this on our YouTube channel. Give us a like, share it. And then everything that David just shared, you're watching this from YouTube. There's a description down below, and we'll put links so that you can connect with David. And I highly recommend it. The people that you interview are amazing. I think we have a great platform and we have great guests. I think you do too. I tune into it all the time. And every time I get one of your emails, I'm like, who's David got? Oh, that's a good interview. So you do a great job, and I love it. So here's the last question. We need to upgrade how we use tech. So loan officers need to upgrade. And I want you to speak to branch managers, because I often feel like when technology is rolled out, it's rolled out from the C-suite to everybody. But I really feel like that branch manager, if that branch manager does the right thing, they could rapidly, elevate the success of their whole team. And let's face it, most branch managers are producing branch managers in our space. So
as I was.
As I was. You could upgrade yourself, and you can upgrade your team. So speak into that producing branch manager. What could they do and what should they do right now to prepare their team for 2020 and beyond?
First of all, without question, the number one thing you can do is embrace technology and make it fun. And what's so fun about the technology we have now, especially the video, is how we can connect with people and use humor. It's amazing when we do these studies on video and using the CRM tools, those that are mixing in humor are having a much higher engagement factor. So number one, embrace technology, embrace the technology your company has. Also, there's a lot of tools that you can use. And David, you have a lot of those guests on here. I'll even share some more guests that you can put on your podcast, because we want to get the word out about these companies, that where these guys do not have to go through corporate. They can do it through just themselves. So embrace technology, get used to video. People say, yeah, but I don't like the way I look. They go, I might be able to do audio, but I don't like the way I look. Well, hey, folks, we've been looking at your face the whole time. The rest of the world has. So get used to video and learn. The other thing is, when you start using it, learn how to be concise, to the point. So it's going to cast for some of us loquacious ones, the ones that are a little more verbal. Yes, it might be a little more challenging to bring that down. But as you do so and mix in some humor with it, it'll make a whole lot of difference. And also look at your energy level. So bring energy to the videos that you're doing, to the communication you're doing, and just get ready to have more fun in the future than you've ever had before. And it's all about leadership. I think you have many wonderful leaders here, David, and I encourage people to come and drink from this fountain that you bring out regularly, and look to how you can draw off and mimic. But number one thing is find your voice. If you try to be someone else, then you're not being yourself. And if you're not being yourself, it's leaving a void. I really think it's the most important thing is find your voice, find out how you can communicate using the tools that work best for you. And I wish everyone the best of success.
I love that, David. So it's lead by example, leverage tech, producing branch managers. You will benefit this year, and you will be creating a culture and a branch that will benefit far and beyond. Let's face it, your C-suite is working really hard to deploy this digital mortgage technology, whether it's the transaction app, whether it's Mortgage Code, whether it's CRM, and it's only as good as your leadership. So branch managers, you make a difference.
That's right.
Be accountable.
So true. Manage up. Tell them to manage up. I think David is learning how to manage up. A lot of C-suite executives want leadership from down the ranks. So manage up as well as manage down.
Love it. Hey, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. Again, remember everybody, if you got value, give us a like. Say, hey, this was a good video. I liked it. Share it with your mortgage friends. David, I'm looking forward to having you back again, brother.
Thank you much, David. Appreciate the opportunity. Best of luck, everybody. Have a great year.